Interest rates don't control home prices the way you think they do. When interest rates change, what do you think of? Big headlines and big market speculation. The whole market's going to go up, the whole market's going to go down, and that's just not what we see in practice. In reality, rates lead to sub-market changes. These changes will differ depending on the neighborhood that you're looking to buy or sell in. These changes are even more pronounced in the Philly suburbs. My goal in this video is to explain the practical side of rate changes rather than just staying in the theory and saying if rates go up, prices should go down. If rates go down, prices should go up. It's much more nuanced than that. And for anyone looking to buy a home or for anyone looking to sell their current home, you need to know the nuances in order to maximize your decision making. So let's explain generally how rates theoretically affect the market. If rates go up, prices should go down. If rates go down, prices should go up. So let's step back and explain. Let's take the second half of that. If rates go down, prices go up. Why? If rates go down, that essentially means money is cheaper. It's easy for buyers to borrow money. They get it at a better technical value. And that means more buyers are going to go out and try and get that money so that they can purchase a home. What does more buyers mean? It means more demand. There are going to be more offers on each individual listing. There are going to be more people coming through open houses. So what do sellers do in response? They bring their price up. It makes sense. If you have more people competing for the same amount of inventory, prices should go up. It's simple market economics. And you can do the reverse for if rates were going up. And that makes theoretical sense, but we don't always see that play out, especially in the Philadelphia suburbs. For those of you who have maybe looked at buying a house in the recent past, or have purchased a house, or have sold a home in the last 10, 20 years, you know that this is true. Depending on where you are, during rate change, we can see price growth, we can see flat prices, we can see slow depreciation, we can see faster appreciation, short-term pullbacks, and even full market crashes like in '08. We have seen a gamut of responses as a result of rate changes. So where does that leave us besides confused? So let's take a step back before we dive into the nuances of who is and who is not affected by different rate changes. And let's talk about something that if rates change, this will absolutely change, whether you're buying or selling. And it's important to know this, no matter what side of the transaction you're on. Monthly payments will change. A higher rate means that you will have higher monthly payments at the same purchase price. More than that, lending is going to get tighter. That's why pre-approval matters more than ever when you're experiencing rate hikes. You also have increased sensitivity to small price differences. A small price difference at the overall home price level is going to make a bigger change at the monthly payment level when rates are elevated. And you can flip all of this for when rates are coming down. That's another reason why you see more buyers enter the market, leading to potentially elevated home prices as rates go down. So, you take this to the extreme. Rates go up, you should see essentially no demand. Rates go down, everyone who's thinking about or contemplating buying a home now or for the next few years should be jumping in the market to maximize their value. So what are a few of the reasons why this doesn't happen? One, many sellers don't need to sell right now. If you've been in your home for decades, maybe it's fully paid off, or you just have a ton of equity in it, you're looking down and you actually see the light of the tunnel, you're getting close to finalizing actual ownership of that home, and rates are maybe ticking up, why would you then go move? Even if you're technically downsizing, I don't love that word, lifestyle optimizing, it might actually cost you more to move into that new home, even if it is smaller and technically has a lower purchase price than what your home would have now. You wait a couple years. A big house is a problem sometimes where it necessitates a move. It often doesn't necessitate a move. So who else? Existing homeowners are locked in to lower rates. If you're looking at homes and you're on social media, which you are, then I'm sure you've seen someone who's posted, I bought my home in 2021 thinking it'd be a beautiful starter home, but now I'm locked in at 2.9% and it turns out it's my forever home. When you get rates that are that advantageous and now you're staring, we're a little bit over 6 right now, it just, these people don't want to move. They don't want to spend more money just because of the rates. And that gets back to those big monthly payment swings depending on the rate switches. So this is Philadelphia specific, really it's national, but Philadelphia sees this to, I believe, a greater extent than the national market. Inventory drives decision making. Inventory is constrained in the Philadelphia suburbs right now. Again, if you're looking, I'm sure you've seen this, there just aren't a ton of homes on the market. It's part of the reason we're still sitting in that seller's market. Again, stepping back, seller's market, 2, 3 or less months of inventory, balanced market. Between that and 5 or 6 months of inventory, north of that, buyer's market. So we're still squarely in a seller's market. And part of the reason, I believe the biggest reason for that, is there aren't a lot of homes for sale. So what does that do? The buyers that do need to move, maybe you're relocating from DC, from New York, maybe you got a new job, maybe you are expanding your family, maybe you just really want to move in with friends and now makes the most sense because maybe a few of you guys got new jobs. Who knows what it is? But if you have to move right now, you're competing with a bunch of people that have to move for not that many houses in each price band that we're seeing right now. So that is going to keep prices from collapsing during times of elevated rates. So the payment ceiling, another place where rates absolutely matter. So let's say you really need to move, you just need more space, maybe you switch jobs, whatever it is, and you have budgeted your monthly payment for what the rates you thought you were going to be encountering when you entered the market, and that leads you to an overall home price. So let's say that overall home price that you're targeting, it was $800,000. If rates are going to go up, then that makes that monthly payment go up drastically. So now you're not looking at the $800,000 mark anymore. That same monthly payment that you thought you were going to get an $800,000 house for, now you're looking more at a $700,000 house. And maybe those $700,000 houses, that price band doesn't give you the amenities, the space, the location that you were desiring. So what do? Get out of the market potentially. So who does this affect? Entry-level buyers feel it, especially when you're competing with people. Maybe they're looking for their forever home. They've been in a starter home. They can pull a bunch of equity out of that home. Maybe it's fully paid off and they're just going to get a lump sum. And now you're dealing with all cash offers potentially, and that's hard for entry-level buyers. Stretch buyers, like I just described. Maybe you're really stretching to get that home. Rates have gone up. And now you are no longer able to get that home because the rates have affected your monthly payment. Price sensitive segments as well. Those on the border, typically we see it at those $100,000 marks, so $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and up. Those price sensitive segments slow. People are going to drop down their search criteria on Redfin or Zillow. They're going to ask their agents to do that in the MLS. So those on the border are going to feel it. However, rates don't always affect certain segments. Higher end, equity rich, and dual income buyers are able to either just absorb the change. Maybe they're just dealing with a bunch of cash. Rates aren't going to affect them as much. They can get advantageous financing because of that. Maybe they adjust their purchase criteria. This happened to me. My wife and I were looking for a home. We didn't have kids yet at the time. We thought we were going to be dead center of the main line. Rates were in the process of ticking up. We'd seen them as we were contemplating going from that high 4, low 5s. Now we're up into the 6s. Some places people were getting 7. And so we had to adjust our criteria. But we knew we wanted a certain amount of land, a certain amount of bedrooms, all of that. And we weren't willing to compromise on that. So what were we willing to compromise? We started looking mainline adjacent rather than just downtown mainline, that Bryn Mawr, Haverford, Ardmore swath. And so we started looking up in the Paoli, Malvern area, and we were able to find a home that made both financial sense and lifestyle sense for us. Now we have a couple of kids. We couldn't be happier that we have all this space, even though we've been trapped inside because of the snow. I need it to melt. I need it to warm up. This is a nightmare. But that's an example of how some people will shift their priorities even when rates are moving. So let's talk from a seller side, who gets hurt and who does better with rate increases. And again, you can pretty much flip these things. It's going to be a little more nuanced than that for when rates are going down, but the rate increase, I think, is typically what people care about. Rates going down, you're going to get more demand. It's easier for buyers. It's typically easier for sellers. So let's talk about the hard stuff. So more vulnerable segments when rates are going up. Marginal locations, overpriced listings. That's why you're still seeing the remnants of this. People were able to do a lot in that post-pandemic world, that 2021, 2022 world. Rates were super low. It was easy for buyers to get money. Demand was high. It was easy for sellers to move their home. Now it's changing a bit. It's harder for sellers to move, but they haven't fully baked in that change, which is why if your agent is looking on the MLS, if you're looking at Redfin, if you're looking at Zillow, you often see people taking their home off the market for a month, 2, 3, bring it back on a little lower, or lowering it while it is live on the market. And that is all, in my opinion, related to rate issues. It's people not pricing their home well. We'll get into my theory on home pricing in a bit, but that's all baked in. If your home requires significant work, if people are paying more per month for the same home, they don't want to then have to put in work on the back end after they're in there. One, if they need a contractor, their rates are up too. Materials are going to be higher. Rates affect more than just the housing market. Or if you're going to do it yourself, materials still cost more. And then suburban sprawl without lifestyle upside. Where we see a lot of stability when rates increase are these beautiful walkable towns. You're thinking Wayne, you're thinking Westchester, maybe you're over in New Jersey, you're thinking Haddonfield, Medford. These types of towns where they have a downtown, there are restaurants, there are amenities like movie theaters, gyms. These are going to stay more stable than, let's say, you're 30 minutes outside of these towns. You don't have direct access to these amenities. You're going to see some more problems listing there than you will in the immediate vicinity of those towns. More resilient segments. So obviously the flip side of everything I just said, but other factors come into play as well. Like what? School districts. There are a lot of good school districts on both sides of the Delaware. Those in the elite, I'm talking high ranking, where if, let's say you're coming from DC or New York and you're just looking at US News, and you see, oh, this school district is very highly rated, this one not so much. You're going to put a premium on getting into that high school district if that matters to you. What else? Walkable neighborhoods. That's what I just talked about. Scarce housing types. Let's say you have unique amenities in your house and you're looking to sell it. You're going to have a more normal time as rates change. It's going to not change as drastically for you, rather than someone who just has a relatively cookie cutter house that someone can replace in another submarket. And then, as always, homes with new renovation, if you've done some cosmetic upgrades, efficient layouts, all of this is a little more controllable, but controlling the controllable helps you list your home at the price you want. Rates don't punish markets evenly. So let's talk about inventory generally. So when rates rise, fewer homeowners list, supply tightens even further, and buyers are competing over fewer homes. And you combine that with tough zoning laws in the Philly suburbs, which constrains building anyway, and people love these homes. People fight to get into this market. There are supply issues in the Philly suburbs. So that is something to contend with, which is potentially exacerbated by rate changes. So let's talk about how and why desirable homes still sell in high rate markets. There are a few reasons. Strong location. Like I said, these walkable towns, they are hot right now in the Philadelphia suburbs. People are getting cold call even if they've been in their home for decades, have no intention of listing. I know agents who are reaching out to these people saying, look, I have 4 or 5 buyers. They've been begging to get into this submarket. Are you willing to list your home for a premium? This is happening. What else? Functional layouts, minimal deferred maintenance, all of these things that make it move-in ready so that people aren't having to deal with elevated rates coming in from other markets like construction, like contracting, like materials. These often still sell quickly. What else matters in selling your home quickly right now? Pricing. So what do sellers struggle with as rates are changing? One is ignoring the impact of rates entirely. Maybe you have a number in mind, you don't care where that rate figure is, you don't care if it's at 2%, you don't care if it's at 17% like it was decades ago. You are getting the money you want for your home. That is a recipe for failure. Or you're overreacting to headlines. Maybe you see rates go down, you think that demand is immediately going to fill in because money is cheaper right now. You list your home through the roof because you think you're going to get 50 people in there. You don't get that. Buyers haven't baked it in quickly enough. You get 3 people in there. They see this exorbitant price that doesn't match their vision of what the demand is currently. Your home doesn't sell. Now you're pulling it off the market. You have to wait a few months. Sometimes you have to wait a year if you're trying to hit peak, which is in most of this area, that spring, early summer time. And now you have ruined your chances, at least in this cycle, for getting maximum value for your home. So I'll take a step back here. My theory on pricing for listing your home. It is better to be significantly underpriced and let the market drive it back up than it is to be significantly overpriced, have the market not show up, you don't have people coming through the open house, now you're taking it off the market or you're dropping the price while it's on the market, and now you have an issue because when people are going to come back in and look at your home, they're going to be questioning, why didn't this sell? What is wrong with it? What do other people know that I don't? And now people get hesitant to purchase your home. Coming in lower, statistically, and this has been proven, drives more people through your home, which increases what the market is willing to pay for it, leads to bidding wars, and it leads to an optimal price for you. Better to be low and have it be driven up than come in too high and now you're dropping it. So what do smart sellers focus on besides what I just said? 1, get a good agent. Come on. 2, they focus on current buyer alternatives. Look in your immediate vicinity, similar size homes, similar located homes, similarly priced homes. This is what you're competing with. You need to adjust your price accordingly. Price for today's payment reality. If it's hard for people to get money, they're not going to be as willing to spend money. And understanding that condition and presentation, while controllable, absolutely matter. They can make a 5-figure difference in how your home moves. Control the controllables. Now, the strategic takeaway: interest rates absolutely influence housing markets, just not necessarily in the immediate linear way that you think they do. They absolutely change monthly payments. They do. They shift buyer psychology. They reduce tolerance for compromise, and they increase market segmentation. They do not automatically cause demand to skyrocket or demand to crater. It depends on the submarket you're in. In the Philly suburbs, outcomes are driven less by rates alone, and I think most heavily potentially by inventory constraints, by school districts, by taxation, and by neighborhood desirability. Understanding this distinction helps both buyers and sellers avoid paralysis and helps not paying too much and not selling your home for too little. So a closing thought: interest rates don't control home prices the way you think they do. Interest rates are a lens, they're not a verdict. Of course, on a macro lens, as rates go up, you assume price goes down. As rates go down, you assume price goes up, and it makes sense. Rates go down, money is cheaper, more buyers into the market, demand goes up, prices will follow. That makes sense. But the problem is, particularly in the Philadelphia suburbs, that's not always how it works. Rates influence how buyers think and how sellers must compete, but they don't override the fundamentals that make certain homes valuable no matter the rate. The smartest buyers and sellers don't chase rate predictions. They focus on fit, they focus on fundamentals, and they focus on long-term value. I would love to help you navigate this ever-changing rate landscape. Please reach out if you're interested, and let's get started.